How good to talk to the freedom fighter that is Nigel Farage. Well, he joins us right now, host of GB News, and of course the man who made Brexit happen, and he paid the price, but then he got him back. You see, he always wins in the end. That's why we love Nigel. Lovely to see you, mate. I'm talking about banking, that was all the rest of it. Now, so, your mate Donald Trump. Now, two things. Firstly, made an awful lot of money for his campaign off the mugshot, about $7 million. It shows that people who love him still love him. He's going to be the Republican nominee. They want to talk about how, there's nothing to do with election interference about the timing of the legal process. But when they choose to start one of the trials in Washington, D.C. the day before Super Tuesday and like a dozen states vote, geez, they're not really trying very hard not to make it look like they're getting involved in an election year.
I know, it's the irony, isn't it? They're accusing him of election interference and doing exactly the same thing. I think the point here is that you have an openly, overtly political prosecutor in the state of Georgia. You have the White House nodding all the way along with all of these attempted prosecutions. The total politicisation of the judiciary in the USA. And it is leading, potentially, to the biggest, most divisive and dangerous split in America since the 1850s. You see, if people lose complete confidence in the justice system, if they lose confidence in the electoral system, well, that is when, I'm afraid, the rule of law starts to break down. And I seriously think that the Democrats' absolute hatred of Trump and all that he stands for, their own sense of moral superiority as human beings, is leading America into a very dangerous place.
Yeah, interesting to note that there are some moves afoot and it'll go either via state parliaments or some legal activists that are trying to get his name bounced off the ballot. So even if he is the nominee, he won't end up being an option in certain states. Of course, he needs as many states as possible to get to 270, so they'll always find a way. But also we learn today about attempts to move jurisdictions out of places that were very heavily Democratic, like Atlanta as opposed to northern Georgia, Washington, D.C. as opposed to potentially other locations. Is this a bit of a recognition now that they've gone so far, they've fired so many bullets that at some point it becomes impossible to defend with the energy required on all these fronts? Is this in part why they didn't just pick one case, January 6, and that's what it was all about? They wanted these things to be like flights arriving at JFK.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, what they're trying to do is to take up the whole of 2024 with Donald Trump sitting in court. Correct. They're doing everything they can to stop him from campaigning. When it comes to jurisdictions and juries, I mean, look, the fact we're even having this conversation, Paul, shows you what a mess America has got itself into. There should be, prosecutors should be separate from elected politicians. And the idea that you can't get a reasonable and balanced jury, that of itself is very, very worrying. America needs total, radical reform of its judicial system. It is breaking down before our very eyes. And if the Democrats push too hard, they will get a civil, violent insurgency, the likes of which I think it's quite difficult for all of us to believe right now. They are playing with fire. This is very dangerous indeed. We know that Trump will become the nominee, done and dusted. The question is, how do fair-minded Americans view this? If this persecution of Trump continues. And I have to think that middle-of-the-road Americans, not tied to one party or the other, must be looking at this and thinking there is something wrong here. They're simply going too far. And that's why I still, despite everything, I still believe that right now Trump has a better than 50% chance of being back in the White House.
Well, I'll talk about this in greater detail tomorrow night. I was actually looking state by state at the polls. I had thought that wasn't the case, but you're actually right that it's pretty much 50-50. Can we also be clear for those that are going to run off to the umpire straight away? Nigel Farage sending signals through the television, telling everyone through YouTube, get ready for an armed insurgency. That is your observation, not your call to arms, correct?
Well, most certainly not. I mean, it's the last thing I want to see. That's one of the reasons I believe in democracy, why I believe in the rule of law, why I believe in fair jury trials. I understand that the reason we have all of this is to stop us fighting each other.
Correct.
That's the whole blooming point of it. But if people lose total respect for it, then that's all they're going to be left with. That's why this matters so very much.
Yeah, that's it. I wasn't doing deep state bidding. I just was making it nice and clear for the people who know better but would deliberately try to twist your words. I'm saving you about a week's worth of paperwork there, my friend. All right, you had a chat to Vivek Ramaswamy, who is really kind of the next-gen Trump. The expectations are that he wants to run in 24, but could he end up being the vessel for everything that Trump stands for maybe in 2028? You had the chance to sit down and have a chat with him. Let's roll the tape on part of that conversation.
I enjoyed it tremendously. 2 hours went right by. I thought we were just getting warmed up. And, frankly, I took it as a badge of honor that I was actually the subject of most of the arrows that came from both sides of the stage. And it was actually a good opportunity to smoke out some real ideological differences, actually, within the Republican Party. I think they're deep. And I think that I'm going to have to be the person in this race and on the debate stage who smokes that out. Should we fight foreign wars that do not directly advance American interests or not? Should we actually unapologetically advance American interests even when it comes to domestic economic policy in the face of a climate change agenda that I think is fundamentally anti-American at its core? There were real disagreements on that stage last night, and I think that's what animated much of the debate, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, Nigel, he's got something. The kid's got something, right? He's got a clarity of message, an ease of presentation, a nice ability to take the pee out of himself. Sometimes he says some things that I think I go, OK, pal, too much. But what did you think being the chance? Did you see sort of a performer or did you see sort of a ball of energy that's going to go somewhere?
I first met Vivek 6 months ago, and I've kept in touch with him. I thought he was very interesting. And a month ago, I wrote in a couple of the British newspapers, watch this guy, he's the horse coming up on the rails. And sure enough, on the night he performed. It was a bit like Donald Trump. It was, I'm not like the rest of them. I'm not tainted by politics. I'm a successful entrepreneur. Thing to recognise with this guy, he's written 2 books already, Woke Inc. being his most famous, that have set out his philosophy. He believes in the American dream. He believes also in what Martin Luther King had to say, that people should not be judged by the colour of their skin and divided up, and that critical race theory and all the rest of it is actually destroying and dividing America. The guy has a deep political philosophy. He represents the modern face of what conservatism is going to be in America, I think, for many, many years to come. And sure, there are 1 or 2 things on foreign policy where he may appear to be a little bit lacking in experience and knowledge. But take this guy seriously. You're going to be hearing a lot more about this guy for many, many years to come.
You're the best, Nigel. Talk to you again next week. Nigel Farage, you can see him on GB News, which, of course, on the Flash app here in Australia, or highlights on YouTube.